welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something fascinating, how travel can actually transform us, going beyond just seeing the sights and more into how it shapes our views, the stories we end up telling. We got some notes here exploring how journeys can, well, fundamentally shift who you are.
Yeah, exactly. It's more than just ticking off places on a list, isn't it?
Right.
It's about stepping outside your normal routine, your familiar world, and how that can spark unexpected learning, a real shift in perspective.
I keep thinking about that Anthony Bourdain quote. Travel isn't always pretty, but it teaches you who you are. What does that bring up for you when you think about trips that really, really stick with you?
Well, it suggests that the trips that have the biggest impact, they often involve dealing with the unexpected, maybe even, uncomfortable stuff. It's in those moments, the unfiltered ones, the real interactions, that's when you have to adapt. And you really kind of look inward.
Okay, let's take that idea. Maybe think about someone's first big trip. That initial jump into somewhere completely new. It can feel a bit overwhelming at first, sure, but there's also this amazing potential to just crack open your whole understanding of things.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting. Sometimes it's the small stuff, right? Like figuring out a confusing subway system or just trying to order food when you don't speak the language. Suddenly things look different. Have you found that?
Oh, definitely. That initial dive into a different culture, it can be so incredibly eye-opening.
Yeah.
It challenges all those assumptions you carry around, the ones you might not even know you have.
Right, the hidden ones.
Exactly. And it forces you to sort of reconsider where you fit in the grand scheme of things. Even those awkward or funny cultural mix-ups, they actually highlight just how diverse human experience is. It really broadens your horizons.
And it seems like when we're outside our normal day-to-day, that's often when we learn some pretty useful life lessons, too. Our notes mention things like, airport delays teaching patience, which, okay, maybe grudgingly sometimes.
Yes.
Or being somewhere unfamiliar requires you to, trust strangers more often. Even just getting a bit lost can build up resilience.
Yeah.
Does a specific time come to mind for you where travel taught you something unexpected about yourself?
Well, what's really interesting here is how these challenges, which might seem minor at the time, they add up to some real personal growth.
Okay.
Navigating those situations builds this quiet confidence. It definitely fosters empathy when you're interacting with people who see the world differently.
And sense.
And it boosts your independence, for sure. That feeling of, okay, I figured this out on my own in this new place. It's actually really empowering, don't you think?
Totally. And then those experiences, whether they're, epic adventures or just those small daily moments, they become the raw material for the stories you tell later. Our sources talk about how travel fuels creativity, right? Photography, writing, painting, or even just sharing funny stories with your friends. You see it everywhere now with travel blogs and Instagram and everything.
And connecting that, it's really about how we process those experiences and turn them into narratives.
Right. Transforming experience into story.
Exactly. Travel gives you that material, whether you're, a professional artist or just telling your family about a trip. It's about finding the meaning, the lessons learned, and sharing them in a way that clicks with others, maybe even gives them a new way to look at things.
Which brings up an interesting point about how we document travel now. There's this constant, tension maybe, between capturing everything for social media.
The pressure.
And actually being there, fully present in the moment.
Oh.
Our notes really stress the value of staying present, engaging with what's around you, not just seeing it through your phone screen. Have you found that a tricky balance yourself?
Oh, it's a huge point. It really asks us about our priorities, doesn't it? Are we traveling just for the experience? Or are we traveling partly for the image we project online? Finding that balance, it really affects how deeply you connect with a place.
And presumably the stories you come back with too.
Exactly. The richness, the authenticity of those stories.
Okay, so as we sort of wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the main threads.
Yeah.
We talked about how those first trips can be really eye-opening, how navigating unfamiliar places teaches valuable life skills, patience, trust, resilience.
Yeah, the practical stuff too.
And how all these travel experiences become the bedrock for the stories we share creatively or just conversationally. And of course, that point about being present versus just documenting.
So maybe a good takeaway for listeners is to think about their own travels. Has there been a trip that really changed you? maybe in a way you didn't expect.
Yeah, what's the story that journey left you with?
Hmm.
And perhaps, for further thought, consider how documenting your travels, even in small ways, like a quick journal entry or taking a few really intentional photos, not just snaps.
Right? Not just for the gram.
Exactly. How that might actually deepen your own understanding and maybe help you share those insights later on
Huh?
in a more